So this panel will see the coming together of the professionals and the business representatives. It's being moderated by the chairman of FICCI for Animation, Visual Effects, Gaming and Comics, Mr. Ashish Kulkarni. Welcome, Mr. Ashish. And he is being joined by Satish Chandran, Executive Vice President of Aries Group of Companies, and he is also the Executive Director to Epica Animation Studio. Welcome, Satish. Varma, who was the Chief Creative Officer of Toonz Animation in India and is now a Techno-Creative consultant. Mr. Jayakumar, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Toonz Animation India and also has been the jury member of the Elite Emmy Award panel. Return of the animators, Arnab, Suresh and Vivek. Welcome back on stage.
A very important session because, what every conference does is that we discuss a lot of things, and next year when the conference happens, we need to really see and look at a count at whatever we discussed in the last conference, whether we implemented certain things or not. And that's one of the reasons that we decided that we have a session where we have a mix of all the creators and ideation guys and the business guys also. And we have a huge panel with a great experience. You have seen the 3 stars of India from there, but we have studio leaders who have actually led the production and created wonderful ideas for the last 20-25 years. And have set up world-class studios in the very own state of Kerala. So I'm going to quickly ask a few questions, and we're going to look at how we can actually build Kerala as a global hub for, animation, gaming, visual effects, comics, and design. So my first question actually would be to Mr. Hari Varma. And we all know that as long as the skill sets are there, the industry doesn't get built. And you know that there are traditional skill sets, formalizing them into, the studio culture or engaging them to do a commercial production is where, you fill the gap. And how do you think Kerala is poised to do something like this?
Okay, thank you, Ashish. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a very interesting question in the sense, when we are talking about creating Kerala as an AVGC hub, what we need is actually the talent that is in plenty in Kerala, a lot of talent. But how do you equip them? That is much more important. Having been in Kerala, I came back to Kerala to join Toonz as the Chief Creative Officer working for the last 15 years. I was involved in actually building the team and making sure that they are good enough for the world. And I'm so happy to say that there are hundreds of people working in various huge, big industries, big studios across the world. And we feel proud when we see their names and the credits of the fantastic films, all international films. And one thing what we need to really understand is what we need, apart from the talent which we have already, and skill need to be honed, what we need is the exposure. How do we get the exposure? If you see any of these people, whether it is Suresh, who is rarely there in India, he is always all around the world, attending festivals and collecting awards. And that is his job. And if you look at Vivek Ram, he has been exploring the childhood stories, whatever he heard in the childhood, and he is going internally a lot and making meanings and making visuals of whatever he remembered or what he created. And if you see Arnab he has seen tons of international shows and he has worked on tons of international shows. And he has been looking at the people who are working on this. And Jayakumar, no need to say, he is the person who built up Toonz. And Toonz is the one of the best studios in India as of now. who can produce quality content efficiently. And thank you for Ashish being here. He is, I call him as a veteran of animation, visual effects, and AVGC, I can say, you know, in India. So all of you, all of us, if you see, you know, the common thread here is the exposure. So what I feel is, for making Kerala a hub of AVGC, you need to have the exposure right from the school days to college days to what can we do about it? I see the only possibility is to bring masters of international masters to Kerala, or send people from here. All the people are not lucky enough to go to all the places in the world. So we need to create opportunities for the people who can participate in such events, and so that they get an exposure of what is happening in the world. And at the same time, create opportunity for the people. You won't believe the top-notch techno-creative or create animation supervisors across the world are Keralites, Malayalis. I mean, I know at least 100 of them personally. So create an opportunity to bring them back, so that they can turn the people, you know, train and turn the people of local talents. I think that is very important to, talent is one thing which we have in plenty, everybody knows, especially when we have a wealth of classical and folk art, where fine art is an essence in everything. If you take Kathakali, you see fine arts everywhere. If you take Kalamirtha, you see fine arts. If you take anything, there is a fine art in it. The only thing that you need to recognize that and explore it. And you need to give the exposure to people. That's what I feel.
Hari, I must say you're a great storyteller, and how you introduced all of us in a very nice way. But I'm sorry to say you didn't answer my question. So I'm going to come back to you, but my question to Suresh. Suresh, you know, we have seen some fantastic observation skills that you have, and we always adore all the kind of stylization that you have evolved in the form of the whole animation. The thing is that in a state when people have, you know, north, central and south of Kerala as a state also, there are 3 big towns, and a lot of things are divided. You know, when one has to really identify, you know, you moved to Mumbai and you created a career from there. How do you see that, you know, if one has to build something like that in the state here, what are the 3 key points that you would suggest today with your experience? And that needs to be done in the state so that we can actually, you know, build a global hub here.
I think one of the, if I had an opportunity to work in Kerala and create the movement that I could create from Mumbai, yeah, I would have definitely preferred that. But the environment wasn't conducive. I don't know whether it is becoming better. I'll tell you a few points that I feel what deterred me from, you know, having a setup in Kochi. I mean, this is my hometown. This is most commercially active sort of a town. Like, it's like Mumbai for India. Kochi is to Kerala. So, like people, the professionalism that you would expect from people, yeah, is something that I don't think there is any city in that sense which comes at par with Mumbai in the entire country. But that is something that one needs to develop. Even though there is so much of talent, there is so much of refined thinking, but, you know, to approach it professionally is something that needs to develop in Kerala for it to become very active in this area. I mean, you feel, I mean, the same people when they move to another state, like in Mumbai or even the Gulf, the entire Middle East is built by Malayalis. So that approach is something that, I don't know what deters us when we are here to produce something like that, to produce, even though it's the same exposure, great exposure of art. I mean, I've grown up getting exposed to music of, Tripunithura is my hometown, which is the center of a lot of art and culture. But we don't find opportunity to do, express ourselves and capitalize it and make a living out of it.
So my question to you and Arnab, and both of you can choose your ways. When it comes to Malayali films, and we have seen out of all the film industries, a very evolved audience and a very evolved direction and stories come from this very state.
Absolutely.
We have the International Film Festival going.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity to go there a couple of times, but I make it a point to watch Malayali films because the storylines they pick up and the way they narrate those stories is mind-boggling, and you require even the audience to be very evolved. So when you have a state where audience are so evolved, what would be stopping, taking this to the global areas? Because you have worked with big channels, and how do they look at something like this as an industry? What can be done to see that this phenomenal in animation, visual effects can take it to the next level?
Yeah, I can give a little part of insight into that. I think so. One of the things that like I said, is it's a professional approach, an organized approach towards things, which is even now when we make films in Malayalam, it's done at a very shoestring budget, but a lot of effort goes into the pre-production and getting the content right, the whole act right. But when I speak to the industry insiders, they're not happy with the way it works. I mean, when the films are made and when I speak with them, they're like, no, we're not happy with the way it works. It's not like, there's a lot of male centricity. It's hugely dominated by male. Very, very few women actually come up at par in terms of technically and other ways, which I see as a problem. While we are a matriarchal system, but I think that way both male and female working and enterprising thing is concerned, I think somewhere we need to get that balance. So the work environment also is suffering in that sense. But for the cinema to, the way it is made at small budgets, the audience also kind of reflects and responds really, really well in Kerala. And none of the Kerala stories can work anywhere else because they're so unique and so tailor-made for Kerala's requirements. And as a market, it is so small that it cannot take on bigger budget and bigger stuff because it has to make money from this small crowd itself. So that is also a problem, or I don't know, I wouldn't call it a problem. It's an advantage sometimes. You can make something for a really aware audience.
No, but if you get to see, animation is the only form of storytelling.
Yeah, animation
which
go.
Cuts across languages,
Yes.
cultures, ages.
Absolutely.
So
animation,
what's stopping us?
I think people have to become storytellers themselves. I mean, the skill is definitely there, but the intent of making films, like every Malayali wants to make a movie. There are people I know who take leave from government jobs and go and study at FTI. And they, for 5 years, they study and they make films, but sometimes they come back and resume the job of the government job in Kerala. But the whole, the inspiration to go out there and learn filmmaking is very much there. But in animation, that is not yet coming in. So that is something that probably such forums, such exposure, like Hari said, exposure is very much important. It's very nascent in that sense, for more film festivals in animation.
Yeah, so we have the Kochi Design Week, the second year, and so much of exposure for all the people who would like to make a career.
Yeah.
Arnab, you have worked...
Yeah, I'd like to try the question.
Yeah.
At the risk of being a bit Controversial.
Okay.
I think it's a two-headed beast. First is a thing I think we're all feeling now. Hindi hegemony. Right, everyone's feeling it.
Yeah.
It's got to be Hindi if it's got to be Indian.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, and like for example, we've had breakthroughs. I mean, Rahman broke through, but now he's a Bollywood composer and he does, it's Hindi that he
Rasool,
does.
we have.
Rasool, but Rasool is like, he's got international experience, he's around, you know, so we can't, I mean, you can't, or Kerala cannot avoid this, the looming scepter of, you know, Hindi hegemony, and it's going to happen. So that puts Kerala at a disadvantage already, and Bombay at a huge advantage because it's at the center of that. So the key thing, my feeling, the key way to break through that is you need the breakthrough. You need the Malayali film that plays in Bombay theatres.
Yeah.
And people are flocking to watch the film, you know, like the Ilayaraja film did way back in the 90s, 80s, late 80s.
Yeah.
You know, there are people in Bombay going to watch Tamil movies. So that has to happen. You know, until such time, till that happens, it will always be considered a fringe culture or a fringe state.
So
At a national level.
no, what about you know, we are talking about even visual effects, you know, coming in, and we don't see a visual effects studio in Kerala, although the Kerala movies and even television shows must be using visual effects. To quite an extent.
But is it easily available, like in Tamil Nadu or somewhere close by?
It is available. So
There's your answer.
I think Hyderabad, you know, a lot of Mallus run shop in Hyderabad.
Shop in Hyderabad,
so
yeah.
They cater to requirements here. And from beginning itself in Malayalam filmmaking also, Chennai used to be the center of the hub, which is now become Kochi. Earlier it was Trivandrum. Thiruvananthapuram, so most of the film production would happen there. I mean, Adur and all would be working only in Thiruvananthapuram.
No, so you know, if you really see the dynamics, it started with Chennai in south, and kind of Trivandrum was the next one, and then Telugu films moved to Hyderabad, and Karnataka established itself, and there was always a kind of combination where the cross-utilization of skills, but having Toonz being here for 20 years, they've just completed 20 years this year, it was the beginning of our industry. When Toonz was formulated, it was a bold step. The thing is that we had enough, you know, cycles where the artist first came from outside into Trivandrum, and then the local talent started growing, and now the local talent is going to various states to find the job. My question to Vivek Ram is that you're from here, you've been to various places, and when it came to, you know, choosing a place outside Mumbai to make your career or set up your studio, why did you choose Bangalore? Why didn't you come to Kochi or Trivandrum or Calicut?
So for me, I love Bombay. I love, it's Mumbai and Bombay for me. So, you know, I can't seem to let go of it because of the kind of vibrancy there and the kind of facilities and how life is easy when you're doing certain things. So for me, I think the biggest choice of moving, when I moved, I knew Vaanarsena was going to be something that I keep working on and that I don't really need a client or I don't really need, but I need to keep getting some work in. In terms of facilities, infrastructure, comfort, and weather, I think Bangalore was excellent. The Bangalore, I think, trumps Mumbai or Cochin or Calcutta in terms of weather. It's unbeatable. So that was one huge reason. But also Bangalore, it's a startup city. It's got a lot of people constantly talking about tech. It's got a lot of people constantly talking about new ideas, new applications, new ventures. There are venture capitalists. It's like how in Bombay, if you throw a stone, you'll hit a director. In Bangalore, you throw a stone, you'll hit a VC or a startup guy, or a CEO, right? So that environment was very important. So that environment was very crucial for me to understand how to build something. In terms of, like, I love Kerala, I love the food here, my family is here, but my father is still in Kerala. But I wouldn't want to move here because of the lack of that overall environment, I feel. Like, you're not, that's not your majority environment. That's not your, the ecosystem is not there that will allow someone, if I, for example, I feel, and this is purely my personal opinion, I feel if I set up in Kerala and I did Vaanarsena in Kerala, it wouldn't go anywhere. Like, it wouldn't reach an audience. It wouldn't reach people who were willing to collaborate with me. Like, being a Malayali, coming to Kerala often, and I visit Kerala quite often. My cousin is in the film industry, but I haven't been able to have an inroad into films or getting work from films or doing something in terms of Vaanarsena.
So if you have to, scale up your production, and if you need to outsource, would you consider Kerala for outsourcing?
For sure, because the talent is there. I think Malayalis form the largest percentage in the animation industry, without a doubt. Second is Bengalis, right?
Yeah.
So without a doubt, the talent is there. Also because of how, like I said in my stories, how ingrained the stories are with the modern. Like, I know that there, which is why even in that small video, there is someone who's learning Kalari and Kathakali will play the guitar at night, right? It's that kind of a blend in Kochi and in Kerala in general. You walk down the road, you will reach an ancient little temple. Yeah. That's the kind of contrast that's there in Kerala, which is very difficult to find anywhere else. So even the people coming out of Kerala, their art has that. Their art has a lot of flavor, a lot of culture, a lot of history within that art. And so for sure, this is a great place to have work come in. But for me to build, it's a little difficult.
Okay, so Satish and Jay, I wanted to actually hear the creative guys first before we come to the guys with the suit in the business. So Satish, you've been one of the latest studios here, and what was considered in your boardrooms to figure out that you need to be in Trivandrum and scale up in Trivandrum?
Right. Thanks, Ashish. Good afternoon, everyone. We come from a very different background altogether. So Aries is one of the largest ship building or design company in the world. We are based out of Dubai, right? It's run by the chairman is Sohan Roy, so he's quite film fanatic. We have around 51 companies in around 15 countries, 16 countries today. We opened yesterday in Turkey. Different portfolios. So after reaching some level, Sohan thought to get into the industry where he loved and to build up an ecosystem. So we took our Mohanlal Vismaya Studios 3 years back. It's Aries Vismaya Max. Then Aries Plex. It was SL Theatre earlier. It was 45-year-old theatre. We converted into Asia's only double 4K projected theatre. Bahubali crossed a national record. Then Epica Studios. So we were trying to build an ecosystem to make sure people understand movie experience. It was really bad in the state of Trivandrum, where I would never take my family to watch movies. It was that bad. So we convert that kind of theatre and convert it into Asia's #1, and it's full collection right now. We got into it understanding there is a lot of opportunity into it. 30 to 40% of studios in Bangalore and Hyderabad, as you rightly said, consist of Malayalis. I personally know a lot of people like him. We were trying to bring in a lot of people on board. We had, in fact, had an MOU with DreamWorks for making quality content out of our studio. We invested, as of today, 21 crore into that particular facility. That's MPA facilitated facility, right? We followed the legacy of Toonz, in fact. We found it amazingly. I should appreciate JK and Toonz to being absolutely patient enough, because the industry is not that mature enough. Getting people on board, keeping them, sustaining them, So what we did was, as a facilitation, we formed an association called PSYCC. And we just launched it like 2 months back. We were trying to sit with the government of Kerala and also to tell our dreams and bring a lot of people on board in terms of converting the industry into what we would want to see in next 10, 15 years. Just to add up one more, we would want to, as a part of our association, we also would want to get into schools, and education need to be given, starting with the government, to the schools, to the colleges, and your initiative on bringing universities, recognizing animation as the course culture, that also need to be driven. But I agree, it's a very strange course, and I live in Dubai. 70% of Indians in Dubai are Keralites, right? All set up business there, they're quite ambitious, they're going really well, including us. So I think it's a big breakthrough we are waiting for, and I'm sure we will reach that.
So moving forward for the next 5 years, do you see your studio Epica growing into animation or visual effects?
We would want to get into visual effects because that's where the industry is also going. It's a mix, basically. We would want to come up with an IP, which we are working on. And Kerala as a state, it's developing more. I beg to differ in terms of the working culture. If you notice US Technologies, that come up as the number 10 companies to work, that is in Kerala, 10,000 people employees there. So I think it's a kind of big break and a kind of leadership need to be shown so that people can follow. An opportunity need to be given. People should know, well, this is a respected industry. So many a times it's very difficult to bring in people because the moment one of my cousin goes to the animation school, because of her or his artistic capabilities, people start asking, is it a real job? Engineering, I think a lot need to be done. Education is the key here from the grassroots.
Okay, finally, actually, Jay, nobody knows Kerala in animation like you do. Been there for 21 years now, and we have seen you for 21 years. Very, very consistent and extremely kind of, truthful to all the properties that you have created, talent that you have trained. Literally, the industry was built by Toonz in the state, and today we are counting about 53, 54, 55 studios that exist in Kerala. In your view, what are those critical aspects that worked for the states like Maharashtra, Telangana, AP, and Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, in some extent, that needs to be done in this state so that we can actually build a whole ecosystem that everybody talked about?
I think it is, as Suresh mentioned, it's a kind of a myth which created overall that Kerala is not business friendly and investor friendly and all that. I mean, it is there. But I'll tell you our story. So when we started in '99, we started two companies, okay, Toonz and UST Global. Toonz is an animation and UST Global is our IT wing. And we started in Techno Park. In fact, the gentleman who conceived the idea of starting these two companies belongs to Cochin. I mean, he passed away in 2003, but it's Mr. Menon from North Paraur. So when we went to Techno Park, and we have the mandate. So these two companies are owned by a Swiss family. Yeah. And it's a large family. They are operating in 120 countries. It's a global network. They are operating in almost every sector. So very savvy people. They have given us the mandate to start both the animation studio as well as the software company anywhere in Asia. Yeah. Mr. Menon obviously has a secret inclination to Kerala because he belongs to Kerala. So he took a leap of faith. Yeah. I mean, really, at that time. And when I went to Technopark, it was very small. It was at the very early stage. It was 2,000 people all together working. And today it is, Mr. Shashi, Technopark CEO is here. I think it is probably 200 plus companies, very close to 100,000 people working, right? Yeah. It grown. And UST Global has grown from a very small company to a first unicorn in IT from Kerala. It's already in $1.5 billion, and Temasek Holdings, which is the Singapore government sovereign fund, has already taken an investment in the company. Obviously, Toonz also, kind of grown. So I think that is the testimony that, some of those things are there. For example, the professionalism he was talking about. But I think it is a consistent awareness and training of our people to tell them that, okay, listen, this is not a 10 to 5 job. Yeah. We are in the film industry. Yeah. If we don't deliver our films on time, then there is a lot of stakeholders lose money. Yeah. Right? You basically fix a film with a theatrical release date fixed, maybe a year in advance. Right? If you don't deliver, then you are basically killing not only you, but also a whole set of ecosystem. So I think it is a matter of telling the people and making sure that those people who are really passionate about and who really understand the industry come to this industry, right? So I think that is, that there. And I feel that, obviously the government is definitely now recognizing the importance of design. And one thing what, the guys were telling is very, very true. I think when we started first, there was no animators. We basically brought in animators from all over the country. And that time we had around 400 people. Around 80% of the people were from outside of Kerala. Yeah. Only 20% from Kerala. Those 20% we selected and trained. At that point in time, we brought in probably around 75 animators from outside of country. We brought in a lot of Filipinos from Korea, US, UK, all over the world. We really trained world-class people, and I'm very proud of that. I think, today when I travel to any studio, large studio, almost, the entire leadership team is from Toonz, right? So we created that ecosystem, and like Vivek said, the largest talent pool in the country for animation is from Kerala. So I think obviously we need to do a good job in terms of promoting the state, and I think there is and another thing is that, we only see probably a Toonz and Aries because of its size. But we have done a scan very recently as part of our 20th anniversary. We wanted to do something for the industry. So we did a quick scan. We realized that there is 100 animation studios working in Kerala. Yeah. And VFX, I was here 2 weeks back. We started an association. And I understood that there is around 25 VFX studios in Kochi alone.
Great.
Maybe small, 25, 30 people. So my feel is that one of the things which I feel is that obviously government need to support it. Government need to, because this is a industry with a huge potential for Kerala. We need to really bring in those people who have gone out. We need to create that environment here to really make sure that their things survive. In my opinion, there is absolutely nothing, and we have been operating in Technopark for 20 years. We never had a single problem. That's right. We have no power cut. We have no labor issues. We have nothing. Maybe we are inside Technopark, probably a little bit of a kind of secluded environment. But obviously that is in Cochin, that is in Calicut. So I'm a great believer of this. Obviously there are a lot of things to be done. A lot of things to be done by the industry as well. Yeah. And part of the things, I was in Cochin, I was talking to people. What I think we have talent. There is no question. What we probably don't have is, it's not just talent, it's a business. At the end of the day, you need to make money, right? So, and mostly our creative people are not really, attuned to that particular part of
cost-centric.
There's a business side of it. When you really put in money, you need to take money. No investor is going to know, sustainable business is going to be done without profit, right? So how do you really do that? A lot of people doesn't understand those kind of stuff. A lot of people doesn't understand the IP protection and what it takes. A lot of people create movies. I actually met a guy who created a movie using 4 years, took a huge loan from the bank and then realized that there is no market, right? So people do stupid things without really understanding the market. You can create what you want, right? That's for your pleasure. But you cannot create something which nobody wants to see, right? And then because there is a commercial element to it, and most of the people are unfortunately not aware of this. So this is something probably an industry need to help people understand that. How do you protect your IP? How do you go international markets? How do you get exposure? So all those kind of things which I believe we need to create that, kind of environment. We actually created a association very recently called SAIC, which is Society of AVGC Institutions in Kerala, which we are at the very early stages, and Government of Kerala and Technopark are all very closely working with us in terms of creating the ecosystem. And I think, within the next year or two, we will really see a significant progress in the area.
Just to add up one more, of the many businesses Aries runs, this is the only one which is not like on KPI as per the targets. Majorly because of the creative people are not on that target on commercially driven processes. So I think that is something we need to figure and educate as well. And plus, the government of Kerala had come forward, so we need to sit with them and also try drafting the policy with the help of Ashish, of course, because if you see the Hyderabad, Telangana, they have an AVGC policy. Bangalore, Karnataka have an AVGC policy. That means in Telangana, it's quite, in Media City, they're building up. 50% of the current bill will be owned by the government. There is a cashback policy as well. I think these kind of things need to be motivated in this part of the world, because this is not actually commercially a big viable if you compare with any industry. The kind of money we spend, time, energy, if we build ships, we're going to make more money. That's from the helicopter view.
Yeah, so I think what is really required is a very powerful policy to drive many things.
Correct.
And one of the key things that needs to continue is the skill development. And not every part of the skill development is going to be formalized, but how do you reach out to people who already are in the traditional form of creation of arts? They probably don't go to school, but what they learn from their parents and their uncles needs to be saved, and they should be encouraged to come to the mainstream in a different way, so that we not only restore the art forms, but also give it a different twist to the digital form, like we have seen how Suresh, with his observation skills, brought a lot of things to a different part, how Vivek has brought, and how Arnab has got. My question is that how many such art pockets that you identify in the state of Kerala, or even the fine art schools, where the curriculum must not have changed for the last 50 years, but how do we as an industry put an emphasis onto these art schools, because that's where our foundation is. So Hari, what can you suggest we can do to make it into, bring this talent to the mainstream?
That's true. Okay. We just spoke about this 4 or 5 fine art school we have, and the syllabus is not changed for quite some time. That's the truth. But what I feel is that is a training of the fine art skill. What we need have skill training for animation and VFX and all the stuff, AVGC industries. So what can we do about that? So either we should be starting some training or exposure again from the school level, and also have every district maybe one center of excellence, and also have frequent events like this to get exposure. Again, I'm telling you, if you really look at it, create an environment for people to understand, especially the parents. The parents need to feel safe that, okay, their children are going to learn something which is going to be useful financially as well as their career. So that environment need to be created, for which education level there need to be a revamp on kind of starting, catching them young kind of stuff, where whether it is regular school or in fine art school, we need to have this kind of exposure happening. And definitely center of excellence. When I say center of excellence, I'm not talking about institutes which are plenty in Kerala. I'm talking about storytelling and design aspect of it, and understanding what is storytelling. And to actually, if you really look at all these people, whether it's Vivek or something, there is a way of storytelling which you need to understand, inculcate. That inculcation has to happen at the young level. So it's not just, just for the sake of job, you're studying something.
Correct.
The passion is much more important. To create passion, you need to know what you're getting into. That's what I'm trying to say. You need to have that.
Arnab, do you think university intervention would help?
Universities?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, definitely. I mean, but from what I can see, that the talent pool is not really the issue. There is commitment, there's passion, there's, like you mentioned, incredible knowledge.
Yeah.
They're very evolved, they read a lot,
Yes.
which is rare. I mean, you don't find that in all states in India, that level of literacy and awareness.
Yeah.
So the universities, I think, are playing a part. I think it's the bridge that we're talking about between that academic learning and the bridge into the industry. And I think that is a little bit unclear. And it's unclear for most animators, and I think, speak about the industry as a whole. Most animators in India don't see a rosy future ahead for themselves.
Yeah.
Where they're going to end up. As if you think of a kid just coming out of college today and he's a very trained animator, you say, okay, I'm going to give my life to animation in India. What is his roadmap? Is he going to come out at the end of his life and direct a Pixar film? What is he going to do? Is he going to spend his whole life sitting in a darkened room with no sunlight, and be slogging away at somebody else's work for all of his life?
Yeah.
So that picture, that needs to, you need the superstars.
Yeah.
You need that. You need the people out there. You need that's the breakthrough I'm talking about.
Don't you think the Indian content, right, like Mahabharata, or they're not being taken seriously commercially? I think that not being taken seriously in terms of commercial. Is that true?
I wouldn't agree.
No?
It's everywhere commercially. Whether it's he just said epics are not taken seriously commercially. No, they are very, very seriously taken. Some of our biggest stories are all mythological based, whether you talk about live action or anything else.
But I would say, even if you talk in 2025, 2030, epic stories are going to keep coming back to you.
They will. But
So-
my point is more in what is that roadmap?
Yeah,
you know what I'm
so-
saying? For the artists.
No, so the thing is that one has to draw a line. Even in the film industry, people are not employed on roles.
Right.
People hone their skills and they are hired on a project on a contract basis, and then they are on their own. So the nature of industry itself is like that. We have to have, apart from creativity, we need to also inculcate a sense of entrepreneurship into all these people. How do they upgrade their skills constantly so that they are relevant to the industry? And I think a big role for the association to play, so that you can actually go and educate the parents that the kids can still make their career and still become people who can do storyboards, character design sitting at home, because I outsource all my storyboards to Kerala. And I work with 17 guys here. They don't come to Pune, but they deliver it from here. And they are fabulous guys. So I think there is... It's raining. Wow. So I think my question to the panel is, how strongly the policy and the industry can work together to make this a success?
I think one of the things that, one very important thing that in the education policy one needs to look at is that, of course, it has to start very young, like Hari said. Like, I'll tell you a scenario that happened in China. Like in 2010 or something, they called me to an event. The ministry called me to talk about animation, Indian animation, and I had to talk about my work. So I had to send a transcript and stuff. The audience, like some 500-700 people, they were all children. I was not expecting that sort of an audience. They didn't, because of the communication, whatever, they couldn't communicate that it is to the children. So they were like 12 to 16 sort of children. And some of them were wearing uniforms, and you could see many of them wearing uniform. And I was talking. And today, they started that very, very early. Okay. Today when I go to film festivals, international film festivals, the representation of artistic and creative films from China is much more than Indian films. So they have gone so ahead in terms of this orientation and exposure and a continuous exposure through film festivals and these people coming in for conferences, talking to them, screening. It really works wonders. I think even residencies you should start. If the government can just start residencies, art residencies and film residencies for experts, even international people can come and work here. So a lot of local people can assist them. So this a lot of rub-off that happens. Because of that, the energy of the place goes up and their awareness becomes pretty international in that sense. And these residencies, like in the Europe, they don't really look at it in a penny-wise, pound-foolish way that, if I pay so much, I have to get so much. They work on many artistic students. Maybe one of them would click, but one of them could be a Picasso. But that changes the whole dimension of the country when an artist comes up like that or a filmmaker comes up like that. So I think a little bit of openness needs to be there in funding. Not all the funding can kind of return. Like when we are sponsoring this education incubation thing, out of 5 films, 2-3 films are really great. There are things that they don't just work at all. So I think Vivek and Jay, like we are sitting in Kochi Design Week, but there is a International Film Festival of Kerala is also happening. Unless and until animation visual effects is a part of film festival also, it's not going to help the cause because none of the films today are done without visual effects and some element of animation is always there. So what do you think should be done so that we start positioning that we should be a part of the film ecosystem, we should be a part of the television ecosystem and the gaming ecosystem and even the OTT ecosystem. How do we get them here and what you think should be done to position Kerala?
I think you are absolutely right, Ashish, because he was talking about China. I think it is not just one thing, it is the entire ecosystem. Look at the growth of cinema theaters in China. It was 30-35% per year and compare that to India, right? And in the last 5 years, China became the second biggest country in terms of film revenue. Yeah. What is the kind of money they are making? And last year, the year before last, they put in $1 billion just for animation industry alone. So when you really put all that kind of things at a central level with the Chinese government might, which is probably very difficult for us to replicate in India. But if they do that, then the entire ecosystem, kind of reflect to that. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think both the government and the industry need to do its job. I very much feel that it need to start from education itself. Because the technologies are changing every day today. It is not like, 20 years, before what I learned has no use today. This technology is changing almost every day, so unless you constantly updated with yourselves, I'm not talking about just academic, but also constantly all animators and all artists and everybody need to be accustomed to what is going on. And animation, unfortunately, it's a long game. You start a film probably 2 years later. By the time, probably the whole industry might have changed. Today I think we are in a place where the opportunities are in plenty. Today, you can, earlier in the early part, even if you have an idea, you need to wait for a Cartoon Network or a Disney or anybody, the gatekeepers to come and give you the money to do. Today, you don't need to do that. You can just put it in YouTube and if it become viral and then you made a business out of it, right? We have a channel, we have around 150 million monthly views and make a good amount of money. This is a small group of people who are starting from Kerala.
Yeah, Vivek, you wanted to say something because
No, I think Jayakumar said everything I wanted to say. I think it is something that is an ecosystem issue that has to be dealt from multiple angles, but also something that maybe the association and the government can do, because one of the biggest things I've noticed is like if you have the Canadian Film Board or you have the Central Film Board here, you have government-run, funded opportunities to create something which then can be published. Like for example, if I want to put something on YouTube, I can do it. I want to put something in a theater, I can't do it, right? I want to go to a theater, I want to go to any film screening, I want to go to a festival. All of that just doesn't require a film, it requires a film plus. So if something can be done, because that is where the awareness builds. Not, there is an audience on YouTube, but there is not, it's not everyone. It's not your parents. Like if my parents had seen more of animation, they'd probably understand what I'm doing today. But most people don't. So they look at it as something for kids. They look at it as something that is not lucrative. You're not seeing, you have an IIT training center everywhere. You have a GMAT training center everywhere because you see the money. You see the results oriented with this profession. Animation, you don't see it. You don't see enough animation at all. So I think we need to first showcase more animation, then talk about how lucrative this can be based on skill. Not that anyone can come in and do it. So if we can push from that angle, there is hope for things to be better. I agree with Arnab that I don't think there's an education problem. We are way too many Malayali animators. So it's just about, if you want to bring them back, you offer them a better life, you offer them better money, you offer them better projects. All of that will, bring them back, for sure.
Yeah, in fact, we are running out of time, but if you want to make a quick point.
I just want to make one point since you spoke about International Film Festival of Kerala. So I was a part of that for the last 7 days. There was one movie by Geetanjali Rao, our friend Geetanjali Rao, which is called Bombay Rose, which was brilliantly done, and it is a normal film, but animated. So the point I am making here is, there is a thought that organic animation are for kids. Not necessarily. So the moment that changes, it's for adults also. Then the whole market changes, then the whole process comes and becomes serious.
So very, very, very clear takeaways today for us that the association is already formed. We know that large amount of talent pool and the groomed talent pool already exists out of Kerala. People working origin from Kerala but working all over the globe. The need is that we need to have a very comprehensive policy to see that we can systematically build brand Kerala and look at positioning it globally and in various markets so that people get attracted to come here and start their businesses or work with the studios that are existing in Kerala. And that positioning would come because of a great delivery that happens from the creative talent pool from here. And grooming kids from the younger age is the key factor. And how do we do that? Through the policy, so that the industry helps the government to reach out to various schools, universities, to see that the right curriculums are placed, because upgradation of curriculum is an annual thing in our business, because how the way of storytelling digitally changes. At the same time, the successful IT industry from Kerala, successful film industry from Kerala, we guys are right in between in animation, gaming, visual effects and comics. We share platforms with both of them. We need to make sure that we don't get sandwiched, but we make a very successful sandwich, which kind of makes people happy. At the same time, how do we grow audience base from a default positioning of animation in India as kids genre, where the money is much lesser, into a family entertainment genre, so that we get a share of pie in general entertainment as well as a bigger feature films. And I think these are great points, and if we consider this with the Kerala policy for AVGC that we are working on, I think we will be able to position Kerala in the next 5 years in a very, very big way. A big thank you to all of you, and a big thank you to all the audience. A big round of applause for you guys that although we were very hungry, but you stayed back for a very important thought-provoking exercise and the talk from all these guys. We hope that many of them come here and start a studio in the next 5 years. Thank you very much.